Today, I'm going to be working on an 87 YJ Jeep Wrangler.
The truth.
So today, we're going to be putting in a new radiator on the Jeep. So first things first, let's go ahead and get the hood open. Alright, before you start working on one of these, make sure the engine's nice and cooled off. You definitely don't want to be working with a radiator system when it's hot. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up the cap, and we're going to start draining it out from the bottom. Right down underneath here, there's a little peacock right there. We're going to put a funnel, just because it's going to hit this bar, and then funnel into a bucket, and we're going to drain out the radiator. While that's draining out, we're going to go ahead and take off the fan shroud. It's got 4 bolts. You can have one right up here, one down there, and same on the other side. One up top, one down below. So let's go ahead and take those off. Alright, so all we did was just kind of move the fan shroud back to sit on top of the actual fan itself, giving us plenty of room to the radiator. Now that it's pretty much draining, we're going to go ahead and start removing the top radiator hose and the bottom radiator hose, which is, of course it's hard to see, but it's down on that side over there. So we're going to take both those hoses off. His hoses are pretty new, so we're going to try and preserve them the best we can and not buy new ones. But we'll take our clamps off, and then we'll start unbolting the radiator after that. So let's go ahead and get these clamps off, the top and the bottom, and then we're just going to kind of pry them back a bit and get them off the radiator. Alright, so next we're going to go ahead and remove our overflow pipe. It's just use a pair of pliers, pinch this thing, and that comes right off. And then on this Jeep, there is a hose going down there somewhere, but it's mounted to the radiator, so we're going to go ahead and unbolt that and just move this hose out of the way for now. So after you take off your breather hose up here, and that one we took off down here, there's 6 bolts. There's 1, 2, which had our little mounting on it, 3, and then on the other side you're going to have 4, 5 in the middle, and 6 on the bottom. So you're going to go ahead and take those off. I would leave the top ones on until you're ready to lift the radiator out, just so it doesn't fall through the bottom of the Jeep. Now, as we're doing this last top one, he's going to go ahead and hold the radiator just so it doesn't fall as I take out this last one. As you saw, we just lifted it straight out and just kind of set it down on the ground for now. So let's go ahead and get the new one out of the box very quick. Alright, so you want to compare your new one to your old one. This one does have the coolant in and out. It has the brand new cap on it as well. This one does have the little lines for your transmission cooler or power steering coolant, whichever one you're going to use for it. I believe it's transmission coolant on this one. But since we're not going to use that, we're just going to keep them plugged up. It shouldn't affect anything because we don't have the lines for it. If you do on your Jeep, obviously you'd have to take them off and then install them on this one. It's got a different location for the Peacock, so just make sure that's tight, but it shouldn't interfere with anything. But let's go ahead and get this one in the Jeep and go from there. Now, because this new radiator has like a C cutout channel, we're going to put the bolts on the actual Jeep itself and just kind of keep it in the bottom holes, just so when we set the radiator in, it kind of just sits right down on those bolts. All right, so now we got these little bolts on the bottom of both sides, so when we go ahead and slide the radiator in place, it'll just going to hang on those two until we get the rest of them mounted up. Alright, don't forget to take out these little plugs as well on the top and the bottom. Like I said, we can leave our ones for that extra cooler in place. I can't get it from this angle, but I'll grab it here in just a second. But we're going to take out both these plugs on the radiator. The other one's down there where the other hose is. So let's get those out really quick. So next, we're going to go ahead and run our overflow line, plug her back up. Looks like it's a slightly bigger size, so we're going to make it fit just a little bit better on there. But go ahead and plug that up and then put our clamp back on here to hold it in place as well. All right, now that we got this guy on, we're going to go ahead and put our 3 bolts in on each side just to hold the actual radiator up against the front part of the Jeep. So next we're going to be putting this top hose onto the top part of the radiator. That's good. Alright, we're going to be putting the bottom radiator hose on as well. Alright, now that both hoses are on and tight, and before we put the shroud on, we're going to start filling it up with coolant. So I'm going to open up the cap. We're going to start pouring it in, and we're going to burp the system the best we can with the Jeep being off. But I just want to make sure none of the hoses are going to leak or anything before we put the shroud on and get too far along. So let's go ahead and pour some coolant in here. Alright, so we poured a bunch of coolant in, and then what I did was I squeezed this top hose just to kind of burp the coolant down to the thermostat. But it's pretty much right at the top of the neck for the radiator right now. We haven't noticed any drips, so that's a good start. We're going to go ahead and put this shroud back on, and then we're going to bolt it up, obviously. And then we're going to put, I got a little funnel looking thing we're going to stick on top of the radiator, and it's just going to kind of burp the system, and we get all the air out of the radiator system while it's running. So let's go ahead and get this shroud mounted up first. Alright, now the stock bolts that came out of that shroud don't fit in this new radiator housing. So I got some out of my giant bolt bin that I've got that work. I do not know the size, like the thread pitch and everything like that. But I just tried them until I found some that fit, and those are the ones I'm going to be using. We may come back at a later date and get 4 that match exactly, because I got 2 and 2. But these ones just do not work. They are way too fat for going back into this new radiator shroud. So yeah, let's get the new ones on there and tighten it up. So I haven't tightened them down yet, but I got 1, 2 in place. And you come around here to the passenger side, and I got 1 in place right here. And the second one does not line up with this mounting point. So I'm just going to leave it out for now. Alright, so I bought this funnel thing on Amazon. I'll put a link for it down below. But what it does is it'll sit on the radiator, you lock it into place, and then as you run the vehicle, it just kind of burps out all the air, but keeping fluid in the system at all times. So let's go ahead and get this on. It does come with different adapters and everything for different style vehicles too. So with this kit, you would just find whichever one works for your vehicle. But let's get it on the Jeep. Now let's pour some extra coolant in there. I'm just going to pour it up to maybe about that area right there.
Takes a couple times sometimes.
Now we're going to keep an eye on our temperature gauge. The thermostat that's in there should open up at 180 degrees. So once it does, we're going to make sure it opens, coolant flows all through the system and everything like that. So the thermostat's open now. You can see the bubbles coming up through the system. Alright, once your bubbles stop, you can go ahead and shut the vehicle off, and we're going to plug this and get it off there. So once the system cools off, you can go ahead and remove your overflow bottle. I went ahead and put the stopper in as well, so whenever I pull it off, it doesn't drain all this out. But then you go ahead and put your radiator cap back on, and you're good to go. I hope this video helped. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down in the comment section below, and I'll try and answer them as soon as I can. If you liked any of the background music that was in this video, check out the artist's SoundCloud. His link is in the description.